Okay, good morning, dear students. Welcome to another session of data structures and algorithms. So, in previous session, we started off with the basic recap. So, still we are into recap of C programming, in which we had dealt with introduction to problem solving. What is meant by problem? What are the different ways we can solve the problem? That is by algorithm, flowchart, and pseudocode. And we had discussed examples related to that. Okay. So these all things we had discussed in the previous sessions. Then we came across overview of C as to what are the features of C. That is, it is a middle level language. Then it is a structured programming language. It is machine independent. Then extensible code is it has an extensible code. Then it has different types of data types. Then operators. Then it allows you to have user defined data types also. So these are just a few things to name around. Then we had discussed around one sample program wherein we discussed what is meant by hash include, what is stdio.h, what is int main function, then what does that braces imply, and what is that printf in this case. So this is just a simple discussion what we had. Then we came across a discussion regarding constants, in which we had integer constants, real constants, character constants, and string constants. So in this one, we had discussion regarding how we can define the constants. We can use hash define statement to define a constant, which is having the syntax. So this we had discussed. So once a value is assigned to a constant, you cannot change that value. So next, you have using a const keyword. So this is how it is defined using a const keyword. Then this is one special case what we have. That is enumerated data type. So in this one, as we had discussed that when we have a enum data type, right, uh, only this set of values, what you're providing, can be allocated to the variable which is of the type enum. So in previous discussion, there was a question on how it is different. Now remember, these two you are using the keyword and defining the constant over here. This is enumerated. You are trying to declare a constant, but this constant will be having a set of values. Now, in this case, there is slight difference. So here, what it indicates is you have enum option, yes or no. So actually, this entire thing will be acting as a data type. This entire thing will be utilized to define enumerated data types and then assign it. So here we had discussed that option can have only two values, yes or no. Now, how do we go ahead with this one as one example we can just check out. So here you can observe you have enum, which is declared in the C. So in this case, right, so here you have the declaration in which you use the enum keyword and then you are declaring the variable over here. And this variable can have only these values which is provided over here. And the index of the first one is 0, next one is 1. So this is how it goes around. So these are the set of values which will be allocated to the enum data type. Now this is declaration. How do I create an instance of this days of weeks? That is in this case, so in this case, you have options. Option, it is yes or no. So you have to create an instance of this. But remember, option, this thing can have only these two possible values. So that is what we are discussing here. So you, in order to instantiate the days of the week, which is of enum data type, you have to instantiate it in this form. That is enum days of the week. And this is the parameter. This is the parameter which will be of the type enum days of the week. It will be of the type days of the week. Now we can call it as an object of this one, because in object oriented programming you can observe this concept wherein you instantiate, once you define a class, you can create instance of that classes. But in C programming, you don't have object oriented concept. So just as a reference, so it is like creating an object of this type. So once you create this one, right, you can assign any of these values to this parameter which is there. So this will be your constant. So this is also a constant, but what you're specifying is these are the set of values, but you have to declare a object related to this one, or a parameter which is of type enum days of the week. So you declare day and you can assign day is equal to, say, any of this parameter. In this case, it is Wednesday. So it is like day 2 of the week. Now here, if I write it as day is equal to XYZ, this will throw an error because you don't have XYZ in this set. So only possible values which it can take is this one. So that is one point I wanted to clarify with respect to the previous classes discussion. So this is how you go ahead with the enumerated data type in C. So enum is one special case in C. So the same thing, again, one example we have taken, we have hash include stdio.h. So you can declare it as enum days of the week, then the set of the values, and there is a semicolon. Now the same thing you can declare even in this form, enum suit. It is club, diamonds, hearts, spades. So some values are assigned over here. So we are using it directly. It will be specified. Now here one change. Here what you have closing brace and a semicolon. So here what you're doing, you're providing another name. After this one you have card, then semicolon. So what does this do is, it is directly combining declaration and instantiation. It is directly combining declaration and instantiation. So if I only terminate after this one, it is declaration. But before this semicolon, if I say put day, that is in this form, here I write day, then colon. So it is like you're creating an instance over there itself. So that instance is assigned a value which is equal to club over here. So this is the difference in this part and this part. Here declaration and instantiation is different, but in this case, both are combined. So even this is also correct. And in data structures and unions, right, we'll be coming across such kind of declarations, instantiations and all. So there again, we'll be dealing in depth. That is using this parameter, how do I access the structure parameters over there. So that we'll be discussing later. So here you are creating a enum and you are instantiating immediately after that creation. Now again, you can have even this specified like enum suit, then say card one. So card one will be an instance of this suit type, that is, which is an enumerated data type. So this is what is happening when you're using enum in C programming. So next we had discussed regarding what is meant by variables. So they can change their values throughout the course of the execution of the program. So it is basically a name given to the memory location. In that memory location, you can store a particular value. Now, what type of value that location will store will depend on what type of variable you have declared. So here the syntax we had discussed, that we have two types of this thing. That is, you define the data type and you give the name of the variable. That is, data type is int and the variable is a. Next, again, another type of say declaration is, you define the data type, you give the name of the variable. Along with that, you provide some initial value, or you initialize this variable with some value. So if you're not initializing, a will be having some garbage value initially. If you're not giving any value like this, then a will be having a garbage value. So if you have some logic to be implemented and in which garbage value has to be taken care, then what you do is you can assign some value at the time of declaration of the variable itself. So int is the data type, a is the variable name, and 10 is the value which is assigned to a. So this is how variables can be utilized. Now here, this example we had discussed wherein they had used hash define to declare CP, which we can refer it as a symbolic constant. So we had discussed even regarding say pi. I can have hash define pi and I can give the value of it in this form. So and then I can utilize it. So next we come across the different data types. As we know, if we have gone through C programming prior also, so we have different kinds of data types. That is, say integer data type, character, string, then float. So along with that, again you can have different say added parameters over there like short int, long double. So these all things we can have. So so we can have it in three categories, three categories, because you can have user-defined data types also. User-defined data types, and you have some other parameters over there. So in that, the first one, primary data types, in which we categorize the uh, int, float, and character. That is the basic data types which are present in C programming. Now, using these data types, I can have the derived data types. Using these data types, I can have the derived data types. So under derived data types, we actually have arrays, structures, and pointers. So in short, array is nothing but say a set of say if it is a integer array, it will be containing a set of integers, and it will be stored in a contiguous locations. If it is a character, it will be called say string. Here we even that is also array of characters. String is array of characters. So we'll be looking forward in coming forth slides as to what is meant by arrays, structures, and pointers. So we can have primary data types, which is your integer, float, character, and all other data types which will be coming forth. Then in derived data types, using this itself, I can have arrays, structures, and pointers. So I can have pointer to a integer, pointer to a float, pointer to a character, pointer to a string. So these are the derived data types. And next you have the user defined data types. So here slight difference. What it implies is suppose I want to have different name to int. Instead of specifying it as int, I want to give it a name as integer. I want to use something like this. So in this case, what you can do is you can use a type def function, that is a type def keyword, in order to utilize this word. So here you have user defined data type. So you have type def keyword, which helps us to give alternate names to the already available data types. So here, what does this do is you have type def float. Float is a primary data type. And what you're doing is you are giving it a name of temperature. So here, what happens is you can use this as a keyword over here. This as a keyword instead of float. You can use temperature as a keyword instead of float. So what it does is temperature, you're declaring the variables T1, T2, T3. So here T1, T2, T3 are nothing but are data types of float itself. These are the data types of float itself. So instead of and for say easy readability, what you're doing is in order to identify that T1, T2 are temperatures, you are just type def this, and you're telling that these are the temperature parameters. But these are of what type? They are actually of float type. So this is how user defined data types can be utilized. So that this is what I have explained. So another user-defined data type which falls is the enumerated data type, as we saw in the previous slide, right? Wherein we were declaring the enumerated data type. In this, you have enumerated data type, which is logic, and it can have two values, high and low. So in this case, what you are doing is you are declaring a enumerated data type of logic type, which is L, and L you are assigning a value of high, which falls within this allowed parameters, allowed values, or else you will not be able to assign. If you assign L is equal to some 0, you will not be able to get any value over there. So this is also a user defined data type. Enumerated data type also falls under this category. So one is by using type def, another one is by having enum declaration. So next, you have some of the extensions which are permitted for the primary data types. So remember, you have primary data types, say character, integer, then you have float, and you have double. So these are the primary data types. String is nothing but a array of characters. String is nothing but an array of characters. If I have to define a string, I have to make use of char, and then I have to specify something like this. So if I declare it as char and b, this is just a single character. This one is an array of characters, which we call it as string. Okay. So these are the primary data types: character, integer, float, and double. So along with this, we can have some extensions which are provided to that, in which we specify it can be a signed character or an unsigned character, signed int or unsigned int. Then in integers itself, again, I can have a short int or signed short int, then unsigned short int, long int, signed long int, unsigned long int. Then for double, we can have long double. Now here, remember by default, whenever you declare any parameter, say if you're declaring like int a, you're declaring like this. When I've declared the variable a, right, it is actually, if you don't give any extension, right, it is by default, it is signed. So if you're defining char and c, so this is a signed char. So by default, it is signed. If you want an unsigned data type, right, then you have to use this keyword. For the assigned this thing, no need to use the sign, but if you use also, it is not a problem. But if you want to use the unsigned parameter, then you have to go for unsigned keyword before that data type, before the data type which is available. So therefore, these parameters come in wherein you have signed, unsigned, and long. So these are a few things which are available. Now, what does this imply? Say signed or unsigned stuff imply. Now here, if you assume that character is 8 bits, say it is consuming 8 bits, character is consuming 8 bits. Now on some machines, if you have observed, on some machines int will be 8 bits, and if you go for float, it will be double that, and in some cases it will be 16, and if you go for float, it will be 32. So we'll be sticking to this one, and we'll be having the discussion. So in this case, character will not change. Character will be 8 bits. Character will be 8 bits. Now, when you have 8 bits, right, you'll have a particular range for that. Now, since it is signed, so you'll be having the numbers which are falling from minus to plus. So here, how do you identify that parameter? So here, when we are considering, if you just consider how many characters are possible with the 8 bits, you can have 2 raised to 8 number of characters, which is 256. 256 characters are possible to be obtained from 8 bits. Now, when you're considering the signed and unsigned parameter, right? If you're considering unsigned, so let us first consider unsigned. When we're considering unsigned, the numbers will fall from 0 to 255. So when I count these elements, these should be equal to 256. So range of the permitted values to unsigned char will be from 0 to 255. 5. So it is like all 8 this thing zeros, all 8 this thing zeros, then continue all 8 ones, all 8 ones. Okay, so this is 0 and this is 255. In between I can have any combination of zeros and ones, so it will be like 00001, then 00010, so which is 0 1 2 in your decimal form. So now when we consider signed, right, when we go for signed character or signed integer, what happens is this most significant bit which is present, most significant bit which is present, it will give me the information regarding the sign of the number, and remaining 7 bits, say in this case I am discussing regarding character, remaining 7 bits will give me the information regarding the number. So when I consider this, what happens is, so I'll be having 256 elements, but I'll be having in plus and minus. So it will be like from this point, that is, it will be minus 128 to 127. So how this comes is, it will be 2 raised to 7, because you have 7 possible values. Sign is taken care. Sign is taken care by 1 bit. Remaining are how much? 7 bits. So you have 2 raised to 7, which is the last number in your negative range. So the next number, if I just continue, it will be minus 127, minus 126, so on. I continue minus 2, minus 1, 0. Then I continue, it will be 1, 2, 3, so on up to next number. And the last number will be 2 raised to 7 minus 1. So here what happens is, in between you have a 0, right? So when you continue up to 127, you'll be having 128 numbers on this positive side, and from minus 127 to minus 1 to minus 128. So this will form another 128 numbers. So it will be 128 plus 128, which is 256 numbers. So this is the range with respect to, say, signed characters. This is the range with respect to signed characters. Okay, I'll continue. So you have signed character. This is how the range is obtained. So if you don't remember the number, just remember this case. If you write even this much, that is sufficient for the range specifications. So similarly, if I take for say integers, so I'll take the unsigned int first. So integer is having 16 bits. So integer will consume 16 bits, that is 2 bytes. So when it is consuming 16 bits, the possible numbers are 2 raised to 16, which turns out around, I guess, 65, some value will be available over there. 2 raised to 10 is 1024, and half of that, you have to add half of that. Okay. So it will be 65536 numbers. So you'll be having 65536 integers which can be considered. So when it is unsigned, right, the first number will be 0. That is all 16 bits 0. So this will be 0 as I continue. So it will be 1. So on when I continue, that is last possible value is all ones. So when I convert this, it will be 65535. So the range will be from 0 to 65535. If I count the number of elements over here, so sorry, it will be 35. If I count the number of elements, it will be equal to 65536, 0, 1 up to this one. So all will end up with a total of 65536. Now this is in case of unsigned. But when we come for signed, right, again the first bit goes for the sign parameter. The first bit goes for the sign parameter. How many bits are remaining? 15 bits are remaining in this case. So what is the, so if I go for signed int, right, then in that case, what will be the value? If you just check out, if I just check it out, right, say 15 bits are there. So it is 2 raised to 15. So it is 32,768. So that is, I can have 2 raised to 15 when I have, it is 32,768. So these are the possible numbers on each side. So now what I'll be doing is, first bit is gone and remaining 7 bits will be utilized for the magnitude information. So in this case, how do I get this range? It will be minus 2 raised to 15 will be your last negative number, and it will be up to how much? Plus 2 raised to 15 minus 1. So this will be the range for signed integers. This will be the range for signed integers. So when I convert it, it will be 32768 up to 32768 minus 1. So 32767. So similarly, you have the other case. And when you go for long int, right? When you go for long int, what happens is its size will be doubled. So if it consumes 16 bits, long int will consume twice that, which will be 32 bits. It will be 32 bits. And since it is 32 bits, how do you obtain the range for this one? It is minus 2 raised to 31. One bit is gone for sign. So up to 2, it is plus 2 raised to 31 minus 1. So this is how it goes around. So even for float, you can have the numbers. So it is given in exponential form. So you'll be representing those in the floating, say IEEE format or floating point numbers. So this, if you want to obtain, right, you should know that IEEE format. So in which first bit is sign, then you have the exponential information, then you have the magnitude information. Magnitude, it will give the exponential, it will give the sign information. So if I have to represent this, right, it is not directly as we mentioned like this. You have to use this one to identify the range. So this is how it goes around. So float is 32 bits, double is twice that of float, that is 64, and long double is 80 bits. It is 80 bits. So this is the overall, or say, extensions of the primary data type. Okay. So here we have a C program in which we are trying to use the data types and their extensions. So here we have first hash include stdio.h and hash include conio.h, which are the IO console, standard IO and console IO. So here, since we are using clear screen, this function is actually present within this header file. And even get ch, I guess it is present in the conio.h. Get char and others will be present in stdio.h. So if the meeting ends, I'll finish off with the. So here we have hash include stdio.h, conio.h. Then we are declaring a data type of int, which is having the name num, and which is assigned a value of 10,000. So here we are declaring another variable num1, which is of the type data int data type, but it is not assigned any value. So if I directly print anything, it will be printing the garbage value which is present at that memory location. So here we are using long int. So what does long int do? Integer will consume 16 bits. Then long will consume 32 bits. Even you have short integers also, which are different. So those are other parts. So here what we're doing is num1 and num2, you are again reassigning the values, since these are the variables, right? These are the variables, right? So we can change its value. And in this case, you are using the printf function to print the values. So remember, this is the specifier which tells that %d. It implies that d is used for integer. So it gives an indication the parameter which you have to print is related to an integer parameter, that is %d. So similarly, you have double. So in that case, you have to use LD, percentage LD. So this is how it goes around with respect to these all aspects. So in next class, next session, we will be discussing regarding the next part, that is input and output operations. So in coming fourth class, we will be discussing regarding these two things.